Hi, katzcradul here. This is a little bit of a departure for me, but I've been reflecting on the events of the last 18 hours and thought I should make a video and just kind of express my feelings. PrepperA has been playing in a junior high basketball tournament all week, and last night she played in the finals. This is a shot from one of the games this week, and the only reason I'm showing it is because you really can't see her in it. She's making a great pass here that ended up in she passed it off and the other girl scored, so I caught it just as she was releasing the ball from her hands. She's the youngest one on the basketball team because she skipped a grade, so she's really little, and lots of times I worry about her out there on that court when there's a lot of other girls that certainly are head and shoulders bigger than her, but she's held her own and did real good, except that after the game last night, when she came out of the locker room, she was clutching her arm to her chest, and I saw on the last play that she made that she drew that arm up to her chest, and I told her, Daddy, I said, I think she's hurt. Well, sure enough, we drove to the nearest hospital, and interestingly enough, as we got to the emergency room check-in desk, I noticed there was an unattended purse sitting in the chair behind the desk that probably belonged to the receptionist, and there was cash laying on the keyboard. And I thought, I sure am glad we're honest people, because, if we weren't, we could grab that cash and take that purse and be out of here. Somebody who's working this desk is probably pretty irresponsible, and sure enough, that ended up to be true. When she finally made her appearance at that desk, she asked what we were there for. I said we needed to have my child's wrist x-rayed, and she said, okay, just a minute, and she opened up a screen on her computer, and she said, what's her name? And we gave it to her, and the date of her birth, and we gave her that, and the only other question she asked is, has she ever been here before? And we said no. And she said, okay, it'll be just a few minutes, and somebody from the ER, an ER doctor, will be out to get you. We no sooner sat down in a chair than they were out there, and I was dreading it because I kept asking PrepperA all the way to the hospital, does it feel better? Does it feel better? Does it feel better? Because I did not want to spend Saturday night in an emergency room. I know how notoriously busy they are, but boy, they got us right in. There was only one other family, and they were already back there in the ER department. And so we got back there, and two RNs came in the room with us and began asking questions. And the questions were very interesting for someone who just needed their their wrist x-rayed. They asked PrepperA questions like, when was your last bowel movement? Kind of weird. Have you started your menstrual cycle? Seemed a little strange to me, kind of question to ask for a wrist to be x-rayed. And then came the kickers. Has she had a tetanus shot in the last 5 years? To which I replied, no. And then finally, has she had the flu vaccine? And of course my reply was, no, she hasn't, and I was tempted to say, nor will she ever have, but fortunately my brain checked my mouth, and I didn't say that. Because his next statement was, let me go enter all this information into the database and pass it along to the ER doctor, and he'll be with you shortly. A chill ran up my spine, because I'm thinking now, all right, I'm going into the bad parent database because I haven't given my child a tetanus shot in the last 5 years, and I haven't given them the flu vaccine. And I'm sure that will be tracked on that hospital computer, and I'm sure that data will be compiled somewhere listing the percentage of parents who bring their children to the ER room who have not been vaccinated with the flu vaccine. And should anybody want to pull up who those are, I'm sure it could provide a list if the database is very sophisticated at all. So I was reticent when they came in. The doctor saw her and said he read the x-ray and that her wrist did not appear to be broken, but there was a possibility if she had fractured it in the growth plate that might not appear for maybe 5 or 6 days, and that if she continued to suffer that we needed to have it re-x-rayed. So I was real reticent to decline their ACE bandage and their sling when they came in, for fear that I would further be profiled in their database as someone as not taking good care of their child because I refused their wrap and their sling. The wrap she has on here is a better one than the hospital provided. I took that off this morning and put on a really good brace, one that we have at home, and I accepted their crummy bandage and their crummy sling for fear of being listed as someone who declined care for my child. I'm sure when they brought those 2 little boxes in, I could just see dollar signs. I'm sure the ACE bandages, they'll probably charge me $25 for that and $35 for the sling. Both of them are garbage. But I was so paranoid after they said they were logging me, putting me into the database, and that, I had answered negatively to 2 of those questions that might make me appear to be a negligent parent, that I didn't want to send up any further red flags. So I bought their inferior products and brought them home. Anyway, just be aware. You're always being tracked. And just to bring closure to the incompetent ER receptionist part of the story, when we got ready to leave the emergency room, they had me sign the paper saying I received the information they gave me about how to treat a sprain. And she said, "Okay, you're free to go." And I said, "Do you not want any information about my insurance or my home address or our phone number or anything like that?" And the RN said, "Didn't the receptionist already get all that?" And I said, "No." She asked our name. She asked the patient's name, her birth date, and if we'd ever been to the hospital before. That is all she asked. And the RN went white. And she said, "Please give me your insurance card. I'll be right back." And when she came back, she said again, "Did she not get this information from you?" And I said, "No, she didn't. I told you she only asked me 3 questions." And she just shook her head. She said, "Some administrator somewhere would not have been very happy had I let you go without getting your insurance information." I said, "Well, yeah, I thought that to be the case." So anyway, be afraid. Be afraid. Be very afraid when you go to some of these little small facilities. I mean, even the big ones. There's people around in them who have no idea what they're doing, and incompetence runs rampant. Anyway, just really wanted you to know how bugged I was by the questions that were asked. And maybe these are standard questions for an emergency room. I don't know. What I do know is that if anybody needed to build a case against me as an incompetent parent, or build any other case against me, these could be used. And this morning I'm second guessing myself and wondering if maybe I should have just answered yes. And I will remember that for the future. Until next time, Cat's Cradle.